the internet has done to retail is it has, to use a favorite consultant cliche, it has drained the swamp, and so it's forced people to up their game, because if you are not crisp on what you're doing and if you don't have a clear value proposition and you don't execute very well, for sure you're at risk.
For me, is it killing retail? No, I think it's a powerful enabler of retail. And I think what's most interesting to me is what you're seeing is some of the pure play guys actually coming off from an online environment to offline.
I believe that people will be going to stores for a very long time. And so the intangible, for sure, is the brand, but the intangible is the experience and what happens there. They say a retailer that is not going to die because they provide an experience that makes it worth the trip.
Is it unfair to say PE has some blame to shoulder when it comes to the state of retail today?
Well, when you make it non-binary, it's easy to say, of course, they have some blame. You can't, but you could look at a few examples. They certainly haven't killed Dollarama.
No.
Right? I would say there's no reason that a private equity fund should kill retail unless they acted properly. And
how do they act properly?
Of all the gifts that the business world gave me from a media standpoint, Sears was the greatest gift I ever received, right? Because I could go on TV and talk about Sears every single week. And, if anybody disagrees, I would love to hear it. Sears was killed by Eddie Lampert because he was greedy with the way his hedge fund took back dividends. And I said that 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm not saying that they could have been a very healthy retailer. I'm not saying they didn't have too much square footage. I'm not saying their experience hadn't faltered. But they kept rotating CEOs who would come in and they would say, I'm so excited, I have a plan, and they would put it on Eddie's desk, and Eddie would say, that's a great plan, now go and give me $300 million. A lot of struggling industries, though, you could say that a private equity owner, if they're the right owner, is a better owner than the public markets. Because a private equity owner, if they do things right, should be able to say, I am in this for the 5-year game. I'm going to take, what some people say, an EBITDA holiday for a couple of years because I don't have shareholders and I have a plan and I know that as long as I get my money out in 5 years, everything's going to be okay. So actually, a private equity owner could save a retailer if they know what they're doing.
Your experience in loyalty, this is a generation whose loyalty has been considered to be quite fickle, although my research suggests that if you talk to them in an authentic fashion, you have them for life.
Well, I loved years ago where they were talking about the millennial generation, Gen whatever you want to call it, and they were saying, they were basically contraband brand. Everything that was anything that was branded, they effectively said at one point, I'm not interested in that. And they would move to these other brands, which were not the big brands, which I found interesting because they're basically branding themselves by virtue of avoiding big brands, right? So I think what we see, right, within the millennial generation is, yes, their shopping behavior is a little bit different. The way they interact with you, whether it's a mobile environment, whether online, it is different. But I wouldn't say it's universal. And I think that they still, there's still a stat. There was a research study which was done looking in the United States, and they said, would you rather shop online or shop in store? And it was almost equally split between Gen Zs who turned around and said, I want to shop online, and that's my preference, versus those who said, no, I still like to go in store. When you look at malls, because that's the other place where they said malls are dying, and yeah, it's a form factor. Many malls are struggling, but I think that's as much the real estate as it is the concept of the mall. What you need to have is you need to create excitement and a rationale and a reason for the person to go to the mall. Today's kids, as they age, what you see is the technology and the way they interact with the brand may change, but the dynamics of once you get your first apartment, once you get into a committed relationship, once you have kids, you go through these natural cycles from a life stage standpoint, which are more, despite what people think.
Well, it is and it isn't, because the malls who are losing anchors, or the malls who are not seeing traffic, are spending a lot more time making sure that the people, the retailers that they bring in, have a plan to invest in experience to make sure that people come. And they're thinking a lot more about the mix of retailers that they bring in so that they're not similar. There was always some degree of management of, like Yorkdale 20 years ago, they would make sure not to have too many jean stores in the same aisle, and there would be some exclusivity and some rights. But now it's a little bit more about making sure that there's a balance between apparel stores and food stores and craft stores and other experiences. And you'll see them continuing to invest in service experiences to make sure that people have a reason to come to the mall. But the biggest thing that I would say would characterize the U.S. retail landscape and the mall is that in the last 23 or 24 years, we have seen an increase in square footage capacity in the U.S. of retail of 30%. You can wave a magic wand and say, I'm going to have 40% fewer stores, and each of my stores are going to be 40% smaller. All of a sudden, the problems would go away. And so that's one of the reasons why new retailers have an advantage, because even though they want to be in bricks and mortar, like, Frank and Oak, we talked about Frank and Oak, we both admire Frank and Oak. They're a small retailer, but they started online. They go in store, they do a great job in store, but they have the luxury of saying, I'm going to do a pop-up on the corner of Queen and Palmerston, and actually I decided I'm going to keep it. And I'm going to take some space that Sears left behind.
It goes back to the data point. And you look at Frank and Oak, or you look at Amazon, or you look at Warby Parker. I think that the advantage that they have coming from online into an offline environment, coming into physical retail, is that they can look at their sales patterns.
We tried to classify and say that they're buying retailers, they need to be buying ones that that have an experience that is a little bit protected, in the sense that people will always have to go to store. Some may disagree with me, but I would say Indigo would be a great example of that. Because you would say, if you would read blogs in the press about the book business, you would say Indigo should have been out of business 12 years ago. Like, what the hell are they doing today? And what are they doing? Well, you go to that store, and for sure, if I want a book and I know I want a specific book, I'm going to go online and go on Amazon and get the book, and it's going to be in my office a day later. But if I'm going on vacation and I want to bring three books, and I want to wander around a bookstore, and my wife lets me out on a Sunday when she has the kids, I'll say, okay, I'm going to go to Indigo for an hour, and I'm going to wander around, and I'm going to read a few books, and then once I'm there, I may get a picture frame, so that when we take a picture on the trip, we have something to put it in, or a gift for somebody else. So I would say that's an example of a retailer. Again, I don't know the details of the financials today, but if I were a private equity fund, I would say, okay, they probably have a strong management team, and they've been through the internet, I'll say, adoption curve in their sector, and they've actually found a way to survive.
Inflation, or the inflation killer that is Amazon, discounts, particularly in the grocery world, but not exclusively, that there is a lack of pricing power at the checkout counter now. How do you get over that hump when you've got that online world and that showrooming cutting into your pocket?
Data. Actually, consumer. There are consumers out there who are willing to pay more for an experience. They're willing to pay more for creativity. They're willing to pay more for uniqueness and for convenience. And so, in all those layers, there's places where you can adapt. And if a customer is going to be price oriented, they're going to be price oriented. And if you're not going to go down that slippery slope, then you need to find ways to make contact with those customers that are looking for other elements within the mix that are going to be engaging for them as a customer.
And now Walmart, because of the internet, they are not the only ones who drive price, because the internet does hurt retail margin because it drives transparency. And one of the things that I have said about the internet, I don't know if I'll prove to be right, but if the internet were an organization, which is not, the mistake that online commerce has made is they've made it about price. And I think that people have an expectation that when they're going online, they actually are going online to save money. Normally, people say, I'm going to go online, I'm going to find it cheaper, and when they don't find it cheaper online, they think that something's gone wrong. But I actually think there is a place to, I'll say, educate people about what they really want, and say there are times where you could create a better experience online.
And I still, to this day, struggle to find a retailer who really has sort of crossed that creepy line, let's say, between understanding who you are because of the loyalty card and done it at scale, and created an execution path where when I walk in, they really do know my past history. Not because I'm returning a product that they're looking up in the system, but because I'm coming in from a prospect standpoint.
This has been great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you all. I mean, there's so much more I feel like we could have gone on.